I would once more like to extend greetings to you all. I'm Fatma Sarah Sasab. I'm a staff of the African Court on Human and People's Rights. I'm happy to welcome you to this session. I'm in charge of protocol for this opening ceremony of this session. Regarding logistics for the working languages, I would like to give you the different channels to enable you to follow the deliberations in the language of your choice. We have distributed headsets. Channel 1 will be Arabic, Channel 2 French, Channel 3 English, Channel 4 Kiswahili. Channel 2 English, Channel French, Channel 3 English, and Channel 4 Kiswahili. Channel 2 French, Channel 3 English, Channel 4 Kiswahili.
Okay, I will announce. Okay. Thank you.
In English?
In English.
No, you can do the announcement in French. Or in Arabic.
I already do. I do again.
Okay.
I already do. I do again.
Do it again in English.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
ما تبداش كيف تولي الكاميرا ما تبدا
الكاميرا مغلقة. Okay, d'accord. Please, for language, we have number 1 Arabic, number 2 French, number 3 English, and 4 for Swahili language.
So, I start with our then
Hi, Emmanuel. Good morning. هذا كيفاش يطفى؟ كيفاش يطفى؟ سادة الحضور الكرام، سيشرفنا الآن.
Distinguished participants, we have the honor to welcome the Prime Minister of the Popular Republic of Algeria. He'll be here soon, so kindly take your seats. Thank you. Yeah, he just called it. I was not even.
That's right. No.
People's Democratic Republic of Algeria. Okay. Yeah.
صحيح؟ أبدأ؟ I commence. Je commence. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, Your Excellency, Mr. Prime Minister, distinguished participants, now we are going to begin our deliberations of the 71st Ordinary Session of the African Court on Human and People's Rights. Distinguished participants, I would like to call on you all to rise for the national anthem of the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria, and this will be followed by the anthem of the African Union. Thank you.
تفضلوا مشكورين.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Mr. Ayman Daman, Prime Minister of the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria, who will be the host of the 71st Ordinary Session of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, Madam Imani Aboud, President of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, participants, all protocols duly observed. I have the honor to welcome you this morning to the opening ceremony of the 71st Ordinary Session of the African Court on Human and People's Rights. The African Court on Human and People's Rights holds 4 ordinary sessions each year. Traditionally, the 4th ordinary session is held outside the seat of the African Court in Arusha, Tanzania. We're here today, therefore, to take part at the 71st ordinary session of the court, which is hosted by Algeria from 7th of November to 4th of December 2023. During this session, we will deliver judgments of the 70th session held last September in Arusha, Tanzania. Apart from the judgment delivery, there will be some other cases which will be brought for consideration by the judges. Now I have the honor to invite Mr. Abdulaziz Kebbi, the Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seals, to make his address.
Bismillah.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, honorable ministers, the advice of the President of the Republic, Madam President of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, Your Excellencies, ministers, Your Excellencies, representatives of the diplomatic corps in Algeria, distinguished staff of the state, distinguished authorities, military, civilian authorities, distinguished participants, all protocols duly observed. The press, may peace be with you all. It is indeed an honor and a great pleasure for me to take the floor before you on the opening ceremony of the 71st Ordinary Session of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, which Algeria has the honor to host from today. And the opening ceremony will be launched by the Prime Minister, which is indeed a testimony of the strong will of Algeria to host this event. It is indeed a pleasure for me too to welcome all the staff of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, whom we are receiving amongst us here today. By hosting this session for a period of 1 month, Algeria affirms its commitment, its attachment to its regional commitments since its accession to the different legal and other international treaties relating to that. Through these judicial organs, it hopes to translate the instruments on human rights and domesticate them in its national laws to be in tandem with international evolution and to safeguard human rights. Its adhesion to these instruments stem from a strong desire of Algeria to safeguard them and a conviction which it has to set up legal instruments to guarantee human rights and prevent all forms of violations. This to strengthen the primacy of law, peace, and security across the world. Algeria has not ceased to do so since its independence till date. Also, Algeria is very much aware of the need for international and regional coordination in the protection of human and people's rights. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to extend greetings and pay tribute to the African Court and its leaders and all its staff for all the efforts it has made to defend human rights on the continent. The court has indeed become a major reference in this area, and it strives to become a reference in all the countries of the continent, and these countries are proud of the African Court. This session, which is hosted by Algeria, has taken all the initiatives and made all the necessary preparations to guarantee a hitchless session here in Algeria. The presence of the Prime Minister here today for the opening ceremony of this session is a testimony of the importance which Algeria gives to this court, and of course, which is consistent with the guidelines of the President of the Republic. Once more, I would like to renew my welcome to the President, to the judges, and to all participants, while at the same time wishing you success in your deliberations. Thank you all. Let me give the floor to His Excellency the Prime Minister.
نشكر السيد وزير العدل.
I would like to thank the Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seals for his address. Now, we give the floor to the President of the Court, Madam Imani Aboud, President of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, and she'll have to give her address on the opening session. Madam, you have the floor.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning. Bonjour. His Excellency Ayman Ben Abdurrahman, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Algeria, His Excellency Abdurrashid Tabi, Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seal, Honorable Madibo Sako, Vice President of the Court, Honorable judges, all judges from different jurisdictions present here today, and my colleagues, Honorable Ministers, other government officials, members of diplomatic corps present here today, Honorable Registrar and Deputy Registrar, staff of the Registry of the Court, and government officials from Algeria, dear colleagues, media, protocol observed. It is indeed a pleasure for us to be holding our session, the 71st Ordinary Session of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, here in this beautiful city of Algiers. On behalf of my colleagues, judges and staff of the African Court, and on my personal behalf, I wish to express my sincere appreciation to the President of the People Democratic Republic of Algeria, His Excellency Abdelmajid Tebboune, who is represented here by His Excellency, the Prime Minister, and his government, for accepting to host not only the 71st Ordinary Session of the Court, but also 6th African Union Judicial Dialogue. Your Excellency, the Prime Minister, honorable judges, and dear colleagues, as we all know, the African Court is the main judicial arm of the African Union, charged with the protection of human rights and people's rights on the continent. It was established through the protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, on the establishment of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, which we normally refer as the Court Protocol, to complement the protective mandate of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, a quasi-judicial human rights organ of the African Union. To date, of the 55 member states of the African Union, only 34 have ratified the protocol, Algeria among the 34. Of the 34 states members, or state parties of the protocol, only 8 have deposited the declaration under Article 34, sub 6 of the protocol, allowing individuals and NGOs direct access to the court. The 8 states are Burkina Faso, Gambia, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Malawi, Niger, and Tunisia. As we can see, Algeria is not among the 8. Your Excellency, Prime Minister, honorable judges, and dear colleagues, Algeria was one of the 32 African countries that established the Organization of African Unity in 1963. And the success of the organization was grounded on the premise that freedom, equality, justice, peace, and dignity are essential for the achievement of the legitimate aspiration of the African peoples. the life struggle of one of the greatest Africans, a true son of the soil, His Excellency Ahmed Ben Bella, the first president of the country, was an embodiment of these values. He is quoted as having said that the struggle for justice, equality is never easy, but it's necessary for a better future, end of quote. It is that better future that encapsulated his enduring struggle for independence and the fighting for fundamental human rights. This statement highlights the fact that achieving justice and equality requires tremendous effort, persistence, and resilience. By actively advocating for justice and equality, we pave the way for a society in which every individual can thrive and contribute their fullest potential. 50 years after the OAU, in 2013, those legitimate aspirations expressed by the founding fathers were restated and firmly entrenched into Africans' new blueprints, Agenda 2063. The dream of His Excellency Ben Bella of a better future is thus still alive. Agenda 2063 encapsulated that dream, now fully expressed by the African people, in 7 key legitimate aspirations. Aspirations which, if fully accomplished, will lead to an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa, driven by its own citizens, representing a dynamic force in the international arena. That is the African we want. Excellencies, yes, Ben Bella is not with us, but he and many of his generation bequeath to us a continent full of potential. Africa's potential can only be harnessed and realized within an integrated, united, peaceful, and prosperous continent. Standing on a firm foundation of good governance, the rule of law, respect of human rights. Significantly, the objectives of the African Union and the aspiration of Agenda 2063 are linked by common thread, that is human rights. None of the objectives of the aspirations can be achieved without a strong human rights foundation. Our prosperity, our unity, integration, development, security, peace, including our standing on the international stage, are all linked to our approach to human rights. Excellencies, given the intrinsic relationship between human rights, integration, peace, and development, the role of human rights bodies, and in particular the African Court in our case, is extremely important. History teaches us that an independent judiciary is indispensable for the socio-economic and political development of any community. Aspiration 3 of Agenda 2063 is crucial to the realization of the objectives of the African Union Agenda 2063. This will require that member states of the African Union undertake the international human rights obligations, including ratification of the international human rights instruments, domestication of these instruments, deposit of the Article 34 sub 6 of Declaration, compliance with the decisions and recommendations of human rights bodies, and such other support as may be required to ensure the effective functions of the human rights bodies. Your Excellency, Prime Minister, honorable judges, and dear colleagues, Algeria is one of the first countries to have signed the protocol in 1999. It ratified the protocol in 2003. The first annual meeting between the African Commission on Human and People's Rights and the African Court on Human and People's Rights, after harmonization of their respective rules of procedure, took place here in Algeria in July 2012. When the court decided to develop its electronic case management system, one of the countries it visited for benchmarking was Algeria. At the level of the AU, Algeria has been very supportive of AU African Union human rights institutions, including the African Court on Human and People's Rights, to ensure they operate without outside interference. Additionally, Algeria is one of the few member states of the African Union that currently has its nationals serving currently in all 3 African Union human rights bodies or organs. This demonstrates Algeria's commitment not only to human rights, but to a strong, independent, and resilient justice system on the continent. I wish to use this platform to encourage Algeria to crown this wonderful accomplishment by depositing the Article 34, sub 6 of the declaration. Hopefully, before the court session comes to an end, Your Excellency, it will be a wonderful gift for the court to take back to Arusha such declaration. Excellencies, as I indicated earlier, Algeria is hosting 2 very important meetings of the court. The 71st Ordinary Session and the 6th African Union Judicial Dialogue. The latter event, which will be from 20th to 22nd November, will bring together Chief Justices and presidents of the constitutional courts from across the continent, that is the African continent, to exchange on how to enhance the protection of human rights generally and the effective administration of justice through integrating regional and international human rights jurisprudence at domestic level. It is hoped that this biannual African Judicial Jamboree will provide an avenue for fruitful exchange of experiences, best practices, and come up with ways of improving the protection of human rights in Africa. Your Excellency, Prime Minister, honorable judges, and dear colleagues, during this session and immediate after this ceremony, the court will be delivering 9 judgments. It's previously introduced or indicated by the MC. It will proceed to examine 13 cases on its cause lists for the session. We will also consider, among other items, a proposal on the disposal of cases for 2024, the draft guidelines of compliance hearing, the draft manual of procedures before the court, and report on sensitization visit to Mozambique, Sao Tome and Prince, and Cape Verde, as well as a number of administrative matters. Your Excellency, for this year alone, the court undertook sensitization in 4 different countries, 4 different countries. That is Kenya, Mozambique, Sao Tome and Prince, and Cape Verde. I trust that with all the facilities put at our disposal by your government and the usual dedication by the judges and staffs of the court, we will, as usual, execute our mandate to the best of our ability. Your Excellencies, kindly allow me to take a moment to thank all members of staff from the registry the freelance staff, the technical support staff provided by the government, and all those associated with the preparation of these activities. We count on your support and sacrifice to ensure that our session and judicial dialogue will be huge success. Let me end by thanking my sister, Honorable Justice Ben Saula, and the Algeria ambassador to Tanzania, the Algeria ambassador to Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, the Algerian Minister of Justice, the President of the Supreme Court of the Algerian Judiciary, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and their teams, and all those in government that have contributed in one way or another for wonderful cooperation we have had throughout the organization of these activities. Your Excellency, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Shukran Jazira. And Your Excellency, let me take this opportunity now to welcome you, Excellency Prime Minister. We are excited and very anxious to hear your words. You're most welcome.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, I would like to thank God and the Prophet Muhammad, the advisor to the President of the Republic, members of government, Madam President of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, judges of the African Court, honorable representatives of military and civilian bodies, the representatives of the media. I extend greetings to you all. It is indeed a pleasure for me to take part at the opening ceremony of the 71st ordinary session of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, which our country is hosting today with a lot of pride. Let me begin, first of all, by welcoming the President of the Court, Madam Imani Aboud, as well as the judges of the court and the staff of the court. And I would like to extend to you greetings from the President of the Republic. He wishes you a very successful stay in Algeria. Ladies and gentlemen, this session is taking place within the framework of the celebration of the Algerian Revolution of 1st of November 1954. And it was the fight against our great people, against colonization, to defend its rights, which had been violated, and its human rights, which inspired all nations which were fighting against colonization. It became a reference in the fight for the defense of human and people's rights. So our country is hosting this important human rights event, and this has indeed been welcomed by the President of the Republic, and it's a testimony of the importance we give to the human rights and to work to ensure that they are protected. So Algeria Algeria is indeed trying to ensure that all the causes and interests of this continent are taken into consideration and defended. There's a peace, stability, and a right for people to make their own decisions. There's a glorious history of your association which defends rights in Africa. And this is indeed a humanitarian cause. A humanitarian cause, and it enables us to compare with what is happening elsewhere in the field of human rights, such as Palestine. Algeria respects all the different conventions. These conventions are violated in many other parts of the world. And there are regional and international conventions in the field of human rights for all human beings without any exception. Algeria, which is following the serious and dangerous, unfortunate developments in Palestine, is affirming the rights of the Palestinian people to enjoy their fundamental rights. This includes the right to health, the right to peace, and the right to live in their own country. And this is consistent with international conventions. Ladies and gentlemen, Algeria's experience in development and the protection of human rights, it's a pioneer experience at a high level, at the regional level. And this is reflected through reforms carried out through the Constitution of 1st of November 2020, which is reflected by many legislative and regulatory instruments which have been enforced to ensure the conformity of our system with international and regional instruments in the field of human rights. Algeria has ratified most of these conventions, and there was a constitutional amendment of 2022 which indeed strengthened the protection of fundamental and individual rights, and also strengthened judicial authority and the separation of powers, as well as the authority of control in the defense of free expression, the freedom of association, equality between men and women before the law, and guaranteed the protection of women from all forms of violence. It insists on the right to education, and all these reforms were interpreted and translated by many regulatory and legal instruments. And by way of example, I would mention the organic law on information, which gives rights to information and freedom of the press, and brings conditions on this profession. There's also the law on trade unions and other instruments which are under preparations, including the organic law on associations, and the right to peaceful demonstrations concerning institutional mechanisms. The Constitution of November 2020 gave a very important role to the National Human Rights Council and the Constitutional Court, which gave prerogatives on the protection of the Constitution and the use of the exception of anti-constitutionality. In other words, it's a provision in the Constitution which deals with elections, notably the National Elections Commission. This constitutional document is extended to the civil society, and it established two constitutional institutions, notably the National Observatory of the Civil Society and the National Youth Constitutional Council. They work in the field of the protection of human rights, and they are under the law, by way of example, which is the National Institute for the Protection and Development of the Youth. It is a national authority on national data on the youth. Ladies and gentlemen, apart from all these efforts at the national level, Algeria is present at the international level, the international and regional level, and it cooperates and adopts all conventions, and it is committed to the respect of all these international and national laws relating to economic, social, and cultural rights in light of the Agenda 2063 to attain the objectives of sustainable development. There's also the commitment of our country for peace and stability at the regional and international levels through the adoption of non-interference in the affairs of other states and the strengthening of the peaceful resolution of conflicts. Within the framework of the African Union and the United Nations, it works towards the extension of peace and stability. This is the Algeria's position, and evidence can be seen through history. We have adopted this position and work in favor of national and regional ideas. And Algeria has been elected as a non-permanent member of the Security Council. Apart from the election of Algeria's representative in the African Union, Algeria stands in favor of multilateralism and works in favor of human rights instruments, which reflects its quest to be committed. And it has also been present in the presentation of reports to regional and international mechanisms, and it works in cooperation with different organs. And in that regard, in September, we hosted the special rapporteur who is in charge of peace. We also welcomed the special rapporteur in charge of human rights. And when we hosted, the fact that we are hosting this event up till the 4th of December is proof of our commitment and the importance we attach to the protection of human rights. And finally, I would like to welcome you all to Algeria, and I wish you all success in your deliberations and in all the activities of the judicial dialogue, which will take place here. I think it is a cornerstone for the development of the promotion of human rights in Africa and Algeria. Long live Algeria, long live Africa, and peace be unto you all.
نشكر السيد شعبية على تشريفه لنا بافتتاح.
I thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. We thank you for being part of the 71st Ordinary Session of the African Court on Human and People's Rights. I now urge the President of the Court, Madame Imani Aboud, and to maybe take the floor and officially open the 71st session of the African Court on Human and People's Rights.
Your Excellency, Prime Minister, Excellencies, all protocol observed, let me take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to you for your very powerful words. And His Excellency, the Minister of Justice. Let me start with the Minister of Justice, who affirmed its commitment to international treatments and instruments on human rights. And I heard you very well, Your Excellency, Minister of Justice, and keep up the seal, that you intend to domesticate most of the instruments that you have ratified or signed. It's you have signed. It's this country's attachment, according to you, stems from from determination that it has to strengthen issues of peace, security all over the world, not only in the African continent. And this, Your Excellency, Minister of Justice, it reflects how Algeria respects and performs its obligations given to their country by international instruments. And you are complementing the role of the courts. In fact, if you have strong institutions and you are ready to domesticate most of the international instruments, including the position of declaration under Article 34 sub 6, that will be fully complementing our work of our protective mandate. It's the Board of Human and Human Rights and People's Rights in Africa. So we thank you very much once again, Minister of Justice. As I said, you worked very hard to make sure that the court is in Algeria. We sincerely say thank you on behalf of my colleagues and the court at large. For the Prime Minister, we also thank you very much. And as you said, you affirmed what I've said in my speech, that is, this is one among the African countries which spearheaded anti-colonialism in Africa. And it's ready to use whatever it has, its resources, being human and financial resources, to make sure that protection and promotion of human rights in the continent is been considered and been given the weight it has to, it is supposed to be. Your Excellency, Prime Minister, on my own behalf and on behalf of my colleague, we appreciate and we say thank you for the hospitality that we have been enjoying since we landed in this country. We really feel that we are at home, all of us, despite the fact that, as you can see, 10 judges here, including our colleague who will join us in a few weeks. We feel that we are at home. I'm a Tanzanian, but I don't see any difference. We have other colleagues from different parts, leave alone Judge Rafa, who is just coming nearby Algeria. But for us who are coming far from South and from Central and from East, we really feel that we are at home. And this is the Africa we want, that wherever you go, you feel you're at home. We are one Africans. Excellencies, honorable judges, and my colleagues, with these few words, it is now my singular honor and pleasure to declare the 71st ordinary session of the African Court on Human and People's Rights officially opened, and I wish us all fruitful deliberation in this beautiful country. Thank you very much. Shukran Jazeel.
شكرا سيدة رئيسة المحكمة الإفريقية لحقوق.
Thank you, Madam President of the African Court on Human and People's Rights. We also thank you, Prime Minister, for having honored us in the course of this inaugural ceremony of the 71st session of the African Court on Human Rights. So I would urge all of you to remain seated while we accompany the Prime Minister out of the hall. We extend our thanks again for his presence during this opening ceremony. After his departure, we will resume our work. Thank you.
No, after. They said after announcement. No, they will come here. الرجاء من الحضور لتنظيم أماكنهم لمعرفة بقية البرنامج. الرجاء.
Can I request the audience or members thereof to stay in their seats? Dear participants, could you please stay where you are? Please stay where you are. We are going to continue with our agenda. Now we'll have a press conference which will be moderated by the President of the African Court on Human and People's Rights. She'll be there with Judge Ben Saula. Thank you. Could you remain seated where you are? I would urge you all and the participants, please, to be where you are. We'll have a press conference or a news briefing that will be moderated by both the President of the African Court on Human and People's Rights and Judge Ben Saula. Then we'll have a health break, followed by a delivery of various judgments.
نورمال هنايا حط البقاء في أماكنهم هنايا ثاني. خلاص هما قالوا لي البروتوكول تاعهم قالوا لي باللي غير تسكن لي هكذا لازم هو يخرج ما تكون ما يبقاش هو المحكم. الرجاء